Ivana, it's so great to have you here. Tell me your personal story. How did you get hooked to LinkedIn and literally invented AuthorDAP?
Well, right now it seems like a nice story, but at the moment when I got to LinkedIn, I was relatively desperate. So my co-founder, OuterDApp co-founder, and we had one previous project, and it was our idea to be a startup. At the end, we never launched it, so it was just on the level of the project. But at some point, we realized that we spent 8 months trying to build a tool for recruiters without talking to recruiters. Yeah, congratulations. And then at some point, obviously, we were telling us to ourselves, like, okay, everything is going to be great. People will love this tool. Look how many features we have. Like, we had so many stuff there. But then we realized that nobody knows about the tool and we don't know how to get people to even provide us some feedback. So, what was the native place to go was basically to go to LinkedIn. And we had two options. One option, what people advised us to do is to try to send DMs, so pitch slaps. Yes, yes, I was that person. To ask people to provide us feedback. Obviously, that didn't work because I didn't know how to do it. I was feeling ashamed so much, about I didn't know how to approach. My background is not sales, is not marketing. I felt cringe all the time. But then we started to create content, and then we started to learn how hard it is to create content, and that even though it seems that it's super easy, look at this really nice post that the person got like 1,000 likes. I could do the same. From that moment to crickets and like no reactions. Like my brother was the person that was supporting us so much from his whole heart. Like he liked every post that we published, but like we literally had a few people that just loved us to support our content, but no audience, not understanding like what to write about, how to approach people, what to do. But we just had to keep doing it because that was the only way to get some feedback on that tool.
This strikes me so much because just like building it in isolation is a really common theme in this podcast, right? There are a lot of technical founders, product managers, I mean, really smart people who just like want to have a product which is perfect enough before they introduce it to market. Whereas in reality, as you said, you can learn so much from sooner feedback and integration loops. And that is like super interesting that you mentioned this regarding content creation and like the cringe feeling around this, because some of the smartest people that I work with are just like petrified of LinkedIn. And thank you for sharing your experience. Really, how did you overcome this? I mean, okay, you started to create content. How?
Yeah, so then like at some point I didn't have much to lose. Okay, I had, because I had my previous career, my co-founder as well. So we were not students or newbies. Like we had colleagues, we had a name in the industry, or at least in some niche. But then we started to analyze people that are good content creators. And we were basically trying not to copy their style because that is very hard and it doesn't sound like you, but to understand like how they format, for example, their post, like how, when they post, what do they like, what type of topics are they writing about? Like, are they writing about one topic or they're writing about like Twitter, like everything that comes to your mind? So, how many times they post and how do they engage? So we started to analyze accounts at that moment that were semi-influencers, but that is not in the it was not, it was 2020 one, so it wasn't like the year where we had these huge influencers still on LinkedIn. So we started to do it, and then we were trying to find tools that are going to help us to make these small changes to our posts in order to make them better. So it was like, okay, my starting point is here and I need to move a bit. I need to ask people for feedback. I asked people for content, like, tell me, like, what do you think? And they would tell me, like, well, like, this is like okay-ish, but you are writing about 5 different ideas in 1,000 characters. Like, nobody will understand what do you want to say. So it's like 5 posts here, just here. So, and then we realized like how to improve our content, and then we started to look for the tools. Obviously, we didn't find the tool, so we built Authored Up to solve these problems.
Fantastic. Now, I'm just thinking like, you were the founder yourself. You literally ate your own dog food here when you invented Authored Up. But the thing is, just like, if you imagine one of your colleagues, I mean, you don't have to look very far. You may be sitting with them in the office right now. And they're like, yeah, I know that my audience is on LinkedIn, but I don't really know what to write about, and I really don't have time. So how would you coach them to just like get something done?
Well, first, I would definitely try to understand whether they need and want that, or they are just, like there is a lot of people talking about, I would like to, but from, like from the bottom of their heart, they don't plan to, they don't want to, and it's just like chit chat between two of us. But if you are in the B2B space and you want to communicate to people that are similar to you, or your network is there. So that is, like the first thing that needs to happen. Then I would say you need to have one main topic that you want to write about. You need to think about your style. So don't look at these influencers. Don't try to copy like big influencers. Try to, the same as you're talking to your colleague, imagine like, or you're reading some report, or you have an idea. You need to come up with basically questions that other people are asking you, your clients,
That's
people
great.
from your network, that you're getting, and try to respond to these questions the best way you can. So at the beginning, like you cannot start with optimizing something without having data, without having any agenda, understanding, like what you are doing. So you need to start posting. And usually, because you're super concerned about writing a post, you can start by commenting to people that you feel are sharing something that is insightful. So write 10 comments, and you will, first of all, teach yourself to be on LinkedIn and to type something there. And then you will at some point understand, oh, I just wrote 200, 300 characters. This could easily become a post. So that is how you can move to posting without like the huge, like, what should I do right now moment when you need to come up to the idea and to click that post button.
I love it how you kind of frame it in this manageable, let's say, habit, because I do think that the habit part is something that we should talk about it as well. Because as you said, okay, I post once, nobody apart from my brother was engaged. So should I give up on the channel? Not just yet. You said that we should start with value comments to just like express our opinion on relevant affiliate profiles that our target audience preferably pays attention to, but not obligatory. But like in terms of workflow, how would we structure this? Would we reserve like half an hour of our calendar and say, okay, now I have to write 5 comments? How to create this habit?
Yeah, so yes, so we analyzed how people spend time in the feed. So from creators, like people that posted like 700 days in a row, I'm like, wow. And people that never posted. So usually you come to LinkedIn, you open feed, and you start scrolling. You get a notification, you check the notification, you go down, you open a post, maybe you put a few likes, and you feel like you are doing something. Usually you're basically lurking, what we call, right? So you are not providing value to others. So ideally, you would try to find, like you would scroll, and for every post that makes sense, you would say, can I add value? Can I respond to the question? Can I do something to improve the quality of this post? It doesn't even have to be a direct comment. So maybe someone already commented something and you can come and say something on top of that, right? So it's more about learning how to communicate on the platform and trying to make it like a conversation rather than seeing that as a huge project that you need to make happen. So yes, I would definitely sit and say, okay, for the next 30 minutes, I need to write 5 comments that I won't
That's
be
doable.
ashamed of. Okay. I just need and it will be about my topic. I already know everything and I can share that. Share your insights, share your story, share your numbers. Like it's very simple when you put it from I perspective. And if you can do it like that, then you can start making the changes how you approach LinkedIn.
Fantastic. I think there is another very interesting element that you mentioned, people like us, or maybe just like a little bit larger, because as okay, you were avoiding to saying LinkedIn influencers, so let me name drop for you. For example, Justin Welsh, right? And the logic that most people will consider as a shortcut was like, wow, Justin, he has gazillion LinkedIn
Yeah.
followers. If I write something smart there in the comment, then I will get some of these followers. But you and I both know this doesn't work. Why?
Um, like a few reasons. Like first of all, to understand who is a person like Justin Welsh, who is an influencer, and there are similar profiles there. First of all, those are people that came to LinkedIn a few years ago. I think that Justin Welsh came like 4 or 5 years. So before COVID or at the beginning of the COVID. A person that came from the sales background, I think that he was selling like hundreds of millions as in the sales teams, right? So he's someone who really understands people, audience, how to communicate. Like he wouldn't be there and then obviously his story is I burned out and I decided to go to the soloprenneurship. That's great. But that is someone who really knows what he's doing. And then there is a whole magic around if Justin Welsh can do it, then everyone else can do it, right? But do you have the same background? Do you have the same capacity, attributes, call it whatever you want, as him or similar people? And then do you really want to become, because obviously everyone knows who he is and everyone wants to copy that strategy. Because if I could do just these 10 things from the checklist, I can make 2 millions per year and have 99% profit. Like, is there anyone who would say no, no to that? I'm not sure. But at the end, it is not that easy. And like a lot of influencers are selling us a story that it is very simple, that it doesn't even take too much time. But they are not mentioning the background, they're not mentioning the luck. Like some people got lucky as well. I'm not talking about Justin Welsh, but if you started creating beginning of COVID, you could get 100,000 impressions for a very basic LinkedIn post. I can tell you right now, you cannot do it. There is no way you can do it, right? So it's about, and then the whole strategy of we have ideal person and we are all trying to jump to that boat. How? If I post comment there, others will see me and then we are all competing and then it becomes insane because like a person posts and then gets 1,000 comments, a few will be at the top, but then do you really want to have the audience that is just trying to be the same as Justin Welsh? If it is your ideal audience, then go to that strategy. But I assume that most people don't have the ideal audience, other solopreneurship people that want to become Justin Welsh.
Well, that's
So,
fair. That's fair to
right,
assume.
yes. So if we assume that, then you probably need a different strategy.
Right. So a very practical question is how to find people that are relevant to us. I mean, if the big influencers are not the answer, who do we have to focus on?
Yeah, so that's something that it takes time. Like everything takes time, right? So first of all, is I would look for people that I see in the feed. Let's start from my feed, like first and second level connections, where I see some value. I see that they are posting all the time. I see that we have the overlap in the audience, and then if I like that person, I would go to their activity feed. I would see with whom that person is engaging. Maybe they have something there that is interesting. They are putting comments, liking posts, like activity feed for any person. Like you can go for example, for Justin Welsh and see what he's doing in activities, like what other accounts he's following, where he's commenting, how, etc. So you can literally go start with like 5 or 10 people that are from your ideal audience, and then look at their activity feeds. You will find 5 or 10 more, and then look at their activity feeds. That is the manual way you can. Obviously, the other way you can do is you can pay for the tools that are providing you lists of influencers. So if you want to find big influencers, you can do that. Or you can ask, you can go to the Slack and you can search LinkedIn. If you search LinkedIn, you can search for like top 8 profiles, top 10 profiles, or something like that. You will probably get like literally links of people like whom should I follow if I am a salesperson, like interested in women in tech. You can sometimes find like a post about 10 or 20 or 30 people that you should follow.
That's great and super actionable. I was very intrigued because you mentioned influencers. And when we met in Belgrade, which was so awesome and so nice, and thank you so much for recording this podcast with me. But nevertheless, we mentioned influencers again and again and again. Because what is going on in B2B right now is that the channels, you know how it is, B2B is e-commerce minus 5 years, and we just rediscovered influencers.
Yes.
So there's a bunch of like
Imagine,
B2B.
yeah.
Yeah, the things come, but with a delay in B2B. But since you had such an amazing launch with OtterDAP, and I literally asked you, like, how did you get these influencers? How do you have like them sharing 100K plus profiles and being so supportive about your tool? I was shocked that it happened organically. How did it happen?
Yes, it was organically. Like, first of all, we didn't have any budget. So even if we
That
wanted to
helps
pay,
with
we could, yeah, that
organic.
helps, with making the decision. But as I mentioned, like our first project failed because we were not talking to people. We didn't have the name in that industry. We didn't have contacts, network, anything. And then for the second, when we realized, okay, so there is something here on LinkedIn where we can potentially help, we've realized that we need to make the opposite. And then we went maybe even too much, into the other direction. But we basically set it like this. We need to provide something for free, and we need to leverage that as much as possible. That comes with a cost. So we were willing to take that huge cost of 13 months without revenue and working full time on the project and bootstrapping because we wanted to make a network and to prepare OutwardUp for the launch to make a really good product. So we were behaving like OutwardUp is a pay tool. Like the quality of OutwardUp was also very good. Like, yes, it had less features, but we were working on it. We had customer support, like my co-founder and I were trying to respond to tickets or to emails, and we were building. Then everyone wants to provide their opinion. And why wouldn't they if you provide them a tool for free and they use a tool you see in your admin, like, okay, so this person posted a few times, or let's say every the person posts without their app. If I go to DMs and ask, like, can you provide us just honest feedback, always honest? And because people are sometimes, thinking, oh, what does it mean? I literally write stuff that don't work, stuff that we can improve or that we need to build to make your life easier. So I don't need stuff. Yeah, I don't need you to tell me how amazing Outer App is. I need to tell me what's wrong and what we can improve. So when you start and when you are open and when, like you're transparent about what you are doing, we were always transparent that at some point Outer App will become a pay tool. We never knew when. And we said it will be when we feel that Outer App is a tool that is so good that when we set a price, people that are really need the tool and are using that every day are going to say, of course I'm going to pay. Like there is no even like they are not negotiating in their head whether it is a good thing to buy or not. So at that moment when we launched, we didn't know that we'll be 13 months in free beta, to be honest. Like we thought like 5, 6, we really wanted that to be shorter, but at the end, due to a lot of stuff that we need to change and to pivot, we stayed for 13 months. But because the strategy was so unusual and it was opposite to hackish strategies where you launch one tool 1 week. If you don't get customers, you move to the next tool, or you launch 2 3 weeks, you paid some ads, you get leads, you contact people, you sell 5 slots, doesn't work, you refund or maybe don't, you move to the next tool. So basically the idea of building something that is super crappy just to test the waters, or building a tool that people like will use, then we just pick something that was natural to us. Like that is also about our personalities, about our values, and that was the only way how we could make Outered up like this.
Ivana, probably one of the best lessons that I got from you since we are interacted is just like this stamina and playing the long game, right? Because also on LinkedIn, everybody is searching for these cheap thrills, for these shortcuts, for these just like the hard work, not really so much like let's have this next week and let's participate in an engagement pot or something like that. But I was just like comparing your approach to what I was kind of very pissed about yesterday. So these NPS surveys, right? In the products. I saw one in Riverside, and I think it was in another software, probably Loom or something like that. And I was like, Jesus, people, I'm using this all the time. And like, if I say that I could potentially recommend you to somebody, it doesn't mean that I will or that I have. It's just these bullshit NPS metrics that you will put on your slides. And instead of that, I love your approach when you kept yourself rather vulnerable, but still very perceptive and very, not say reactive to customer feedback, but you took it seriously, right? So it was not some bullshit metric. Do you think that this was the main ingredient into how you earned so much customer love?
I guess so. And also like one thing you said, like we launched it with influencers. We never targeted influencers. We launched it with everyone that were using Outered Up. And then, like Outered Up was getting, let's say, it's still we are getting a lot of love, to be honest, on LinkedIn. But like sometimes a person that has literally 100 followers and 3 likes writes a post about Outered Up, and like maybe you don't see it but we see, and it is important to us. So we never like we never targeted, because whenever you try to target specific person, imagine like you are an influencer, have 200,000 followers, how many people are approaching you and want something from you. And our ideal customer is not that influencer, it's like a regular person that doesn't have 8 hours per day to spend on LinkedIn. So that's why we were like, like very, it's like, this is how we feel. And first thing that we learned is you need to apologize, because sometimes Outered Up doesn't work. You need to say sorry for the inconvenience. In most cases, it is not we didn't make an issue. However, if they didn't understand how to do something, or whether if the problem was on their Chrome, like still they didn't have the experience that they should have with Outered Up, then you need to start listening, because people, and especially about the issues and about the processes, flows that they have. So we are listening all the time about pain points when they like when they start to write to you like, I hate this, like hard, like emotions that are very like even hard to comprehend. uh but you are really trying to understand what exactly there is for you. And like obviously we have a lot of constraints because of our values, etc., but we would say, okay, so look at this, like this really, even though it can work like this, if person cannot understand, we need to change it. So we were making a lot of UX changes, a lot of stuff where we are not putting number, per feature. Like we are not saying if we launch this, it's 10, we can increase the price $10. And if you launch that, we cannot increase the price. Like that's not like if you're trying to optimize or to over optimize at the first stages, like I think that is not like you are going to piss someone off and you don't know whom, and at the end you cannot say this customer is more important than this customer. Like you need to try to see like what I can really do, when I can really add value. Maybe it is for 10% of people, but if I help them, it's also okay. You cannot optimize every single point at this stage, at that stage, and still at this stage where we are not trying to build. We are really trying to build a good product, something that is, people feel really good when they start using it.
And that speaks volumes, because even when I was working with Akash, he with 200K followers said authored up should be on the graphic. And I was just like, yes, I know Ivana.
Yeah.
I feel that I know
but
you.
like, we don't know him. Like, yeah, he's paying for authored up. I mean, like
Great.
yeah, but it's like, and we never paid, but it means a lot. Obviously we found a way to help him, that he's willing to say, look, this small company from like Serbia, is helping me really on LinkedIn, and I'm gonna put them. I think that post had like 1,300 reactions. Like it was insane. But yes, that is the way people want to give you back when you give them first. If you provide something, they are like very willing to give you that, even more than you provide. But you need to be the first one to say hello, and I'm gonna do something for you.
Hear you loud and clear. And again, it can be translated to LinkedIn, right? So genuine intention to help, and just like critical thinking, like, am I harvesting attention here, or am I really adding value? This is something which I like very much about your approach, because it is scientific. And I first learned about you as you were crunching data for the famous algorithm study on LinkedIn. How did you even like approach this research? And if you don't mind sharing some findings.
Yeah, so basically I met Richard van der Blom when we launched Outered Up. Like after 2 weeks, he sent us a message like, I want to try this tool. So, and then at some point we were discussing about potential collaboration on the analysis. And for this year, like previous, we had enough data, we had enough understanding, and to be honest, enough resources to approach the analysis, because that was not something that is cheap. Okay, data is one part, but where is like building models, statistical models, and then machine learning models that we had to build? And basically, we had a machine learning engineer who was working full time on the analysis. So, but we really wanted to put it to be at that level, so not to be just a marketing report. Like usually, how these analyses are done. Here is some database, give me
No, I
average.
interviewed 500 product managers.
Yeah, that exactly. So, and then, you get like 3 answers. But here we had like hundreds of millions of data points. And like you need someone who knows how to deal with that kind of a database, and to basically set assumptions, to test the assumptions, trying like with the best methodology that exists, and to be at the level where we can literally write scientific papers if we want on specific topics that we analyzed. So we really wanted to be like very open. We were open with our methodology. We even shared like what models we built, like what we used, why. And obviously nobody reads that, but if you go to the algorithm report, like at the end of the slides, like 250 page, you will see a few slides of the methodology. So that was our approach. That's our approach with Authored Up. That's our approach with everything that we do. And that's how we basically approach this. And that's also, I mean, like, look at these books behind me. I finished economic theory. I studied a bit philosophy of science, so I just couldn't do something that doesn't have real value. And one thing that we did on top of all of this is why we also worked on this partnership and why we provided so much when it comes to analysis is because we also wanted to understand what we can then build for our third up customers, what kind of machine learning models. I like to say machine learning because it's machine learning. It's not AI. Not everything is AI. What kind of small machine learning tools we can implement in our third up? What makes sense? What makes statistical sense to do? And then we built a few of these models. We still didn't implement them, but we basically understood what exactly we can build next that can have the biggest impact on the content quality or the analysis that people that are using OuterDub can have. So this was a bit more than I expected.
No. I'm geeking out hardcore with you.
Yeah, but yeah, for the insights.
Yeah, just the report is 250 pages. So when I communicated with firms, I'm like, listen, whoever is responsible for communication, read the entire one. Then for busy founders, here are top 5 things that you should know. What are the top 5 things?
Yeah, so so I will give like 5 most interesting things. Okay, so maybe not top 5, but top most interesting. First, we try to understand what influences the impressions on LinkedIn. Everyone are talking about impressions all the time, so we spend a lot of time doing that. 2 insights. First is that we see that when you are looking at all the profiles. So there is something that is expected or normal level of impressions that every profile will expect. That is some median impression that you have per post. And that median impression, for example, for me, it's 5,000 impressions. It cannot really be explained by reactions, engagement, etc. So there are other stuff that we cannot track that are important for LinkedIn, probably your audience, the activity in the feed, like stuff that we cannot track are influencing this. Like basically it seems that LinkedIn is giving you something that is natural level of impressions, is the base, right? But then for top 5% of posts per profile, okay, there are a few things that influence impressions, and one is the top, and those are indirect comments. So it is the comments that you are getting. Basically, when you publish a post, there is the first comment, right? And then there is an option to respond to the comments. So the depth of these responses is something that really influences the potential and the top 5%. Why? Because when, for example, Panta publishes a post and then I come and I respond something, and then Panta responds, and then Maja comes and responds, and then there is also interactions there. Someone likes, someone reads. Like all of these actions are basically, you need to add them to the total of all engagement, and that is something that is hard to track. So if I put it in actionable tip, like what you should do is you need to try to keep the conversation going in your comments. But if you want to help someone, you also need to go and instead of just posting a comment and forgetting about their post, you need to keep the conversation going. How? By asking a question, tagging a person, even going to other people's comments, right? And responding to that, trying to make the conversation going, because LinkedIn really wants to be about the relationships and conversations. And the only place where that can happen is basically in these indirect comments.
Okay, so sorry, I have to ask this because like with so much AI generated comments right now, I feel like a fucking idiot if somebody is like, yes, Ivana, it was a great podcast. I enjoy listening to it. Would you then go and write like, thank you, AI generated content. I'm very happy that you got me a feedback. And then they would be, you're welcome. Do you have any other podcasts? And they would be, sure, here are another podcast that I recorded. Like, does the quality matter? Because like, honestly, as I'm trying to think, how would I apply it would probably be a little bit off.
Yeah, so we don't have data. It's very hard, like for us
Okay,
to say whether something is AI. We were
fair
testing
enough.
AI generated images because there are models where you can basically classify images and then assume with some probability that image is AI or not AI. But like for the for the comments or for the posts, like we don't have right now internal models where we can say this is AI generated. But however, what we see is basically that good quality comments that have more than 8 words. So not I think that even LinkedIn has very simple some kind of a filtering. And if you write like bravo or congratulations, that they remove that word, I would be like, that's so simple. If they don't, I hope that they will add that. But I think those people are much smarter than me. But basically, no, remove the words that don't make any sense, and then see how much value is provided. And then like type AI comments. When I see like a summarization of my post, I'm not responding. Like like you click the button and summarize my post, I don't feel like I need to engage, and I will just like move on. However, what I will try is basically to have the conversation and like really to be interested, because if I post something that is from my experience or some opinion, and then you come and say, okay, but you didn't think about this approach. And I say, oh, yes or no, really? Like, and how do you think that influences why? And then you explain, well, this is what should happen. Like, there is a conversation, and people that are on my profile and that post will go into the conversation. They want to see, when you have indirect comments, LinkedIn doesn't show you the whole tree, right? It shows you like +7 or
Mhm.
+8. And every single click that that you do, even when you stop somewhere, but especially when you click, that is a signal to the LinkedIn algorithm. And that is how you need to think when you are thinking about the impressions and the potential that you can get. So, like the second actionable tip is try to ask a question that is very simple and closed at the end of your post, in order to get people to respond to that question and to start the conversation.
Yes, no.
No, yes, no questions. Yeah, I mean, like, and no, like, tell me in comments, because every single word that you write is, like, there. I won't go. It will be like too much in depth.
Yeah.
Why that is important, but not yes, no, but it is okay if you ask like. Do you feel something is important, or do you remember when this happened? The goal is to ask a question that a person that is reading a post can respond easily in a few
Mhm.
words. And that is something that they are thinking all the time about. So if you ask something that is too broad, they need to stop and they need to think, and need to think how to communicate that. But if you ask me, Ivana, what do you think is the most important metric for outered up growth?
What is
I'm
it?
thinking about all the time about that. Yeah, like, and then it's like, yeah, I think that lifetime value is like the most, like the growth of lifetime value is something that makes sense for me. So, like something that your ideal audience is thinking all about. Like, do you have a strategy? Like, do you have, or did you ever pay an influencer to promote something? Like that kind of questions that make sense and can start a conversation are the
Super.
best ones to close your post with.
Oh, that's fantastic. So I can escape the cats and dogs question.
Yeah.
Super.
Yes.
Okay, we got into number two. Snappy answers, short answers to engage
Yeah.
the commerce. What else do
Yes.
we have?
We have a readability score, very important metric.
Mhm.
Basically, what you are trying to do is to put um, white spaces, so it is very easy to scan your post.
Mhm.
Our analysis showed that people, when they see your post, they see the hook, right? The first part, and then the see more button. When they click see more, they read posts like this. They are literally going like this. If there are some bullet points, they are going to stop at bullet points.
Mhm.
If there is a mention or something, like even emojis can make like basically a putting points on the post. They are just reading keywords and they're just trying to scan whether it makes sense or doesn't make sense to spend time on your post. So people, when they click see more, they are not reading every single word. When they see a paragraph, this is big, like they are moving, like they won't read that post. When they see something that is too big, and you are not like an influencer who knows how to write posts, like there are people who know how to write 2,000 characters to sound really good. I'm not that person. Like I'm up to 1,000 characters, so I can communicate. So basically people read like this, they try to get the keywords, and then if it makes sense, if they can associate, if there are questions that are relevant to them, they come back and then they read the post. So you are trying to optimize for that experience and that experience on a phone. So 2 points. First is readability index, basically showing you how easy your post is to read, not the quality of your post, but like, do you have sentences that are too big, paragraphs that are too big, etc. And then the post optimization for the mobile phone, because most of the people are reading content on mobile while they are creating content on desktop or on their laptop. So 3 and 4, readability score, and optimize for mobile experience.
Great. So I'm eagerly waiting for number 5 now, because this is great.
Okay. So number 5 is something that is unusual and basically says that the best content type, if you want impressions, are polls. And yes, so writing a poll with a few options to respond, like answers, is going to give you... Sorry?
Coffee or tea?
No coffee or tea, no, but something that can basically engage your audience. Why? Because LinkedIn feeds functions like this. LinkedIn has, let's say, 110 spaces in the feed, and they exactly know what they're going to put. Like out of 10 posts, 4 will be ads. You remove that immediately, right? You have 6 spaces more. When you post, like there are 6 spaces for organic content. And then they know, obviously like different algorithms, but they know like that 1 will be text, 2 will be image, 1 will be, like PDF or carousel. But for every post type, it seems that they have some space for that content type. Why? Because they also want to make it engaging, right? They don't want to give you 10 text posts only in the feed, because at some point you will say, oh, this is enough, I cannot read anymore. They are optimizing this all the time. And there is no specific answer who is going to get what. But we know that, for example, ads are going up in the feed, like in the quantity, but that they also have space for other content types. And then what happened? Polls were, like super easy to build, and everyone were making them. LinkedIn was pushing them in the feed a few years ago. And then they got really, really bad in quality, because you literally had posts like, do you like coffee or tea? Yes, cats or dogs, wine or beer, like I mean, like, and then that was like cheap engagement. Obviously, people hated these polls, and LinkedIn then realized also that it doesn't provide value, and they removed. However, there is still space for polls. And on the other side, imagine it like a market, right? Like there is a demand for polls that LinkedIn says 3 polls in 100 posts. And then there is a supply. So all of us that are creating, given that nobody is creating polls anymore, there is more space for polls. So the competition is much lower than, for example, for text plus image. So if you want to get engagement with your audience, you can create a poll, but you shouldn't create poll that we remember like a few years ago, coffee or tea, as you said. You can use a poll to basically analyze your target audience. It works only when you already have the audience. So if you are getting a few likes, like don't try like on medium, on average, like don't do it. But if you already have the audience and you really want them to answer, like you really want to learn something about and to hear their opinion. Then you can create a very simple poll. Keep it 1 in 2 weeks at the most. So you don't want that to be your main content type. It doesn't provide so much value. But write a very short post, a poll with ideally 3 answers, and basically no answer, like try to, these 3 are the 100% of potential answers. So yes, no, maybe. Obviously, you won't write that kind of a poll, but like that is the ideal, that you have all the options there. No options like I'm here only for the answers, or like something like that. You really want them to be able to respond easily. And what is interesting is that when people see that there is like 50 votes, 100 votes that you can easily get on a poll, they want to see results. And right now, given that there are no polls almost at all in the feed, you can use that to basically research your target audience and to engage them on Saturdays, on Sundays, once a month, sorry. You can use a poll. You will get engagement much higher than that you are getting on other post types.
This is incredible. And you're probably the first person ever who explained me this stock market of attention for formats. And yes, everybody told me before that it's important to do like many formats, but now I know why. So thank you so much. Okay, moving to the very last session, you were so generous with all the applicable tips. So tell us, how can Authored Up, I call it Authored Up,
Yeah.
help us create content on LinkedIn? How can we utilize this tool to just get the party started?
Yeah, so Authored Up is a primary Chrome extension that works like a Grammarly, like on top as a layer on top of LinkedIn. Why? Because you're already on LinkedIn, right? You're writing comments, you have an ideas, you are in DMs, and you have and you want to write a post. So it's always where you are, Authored Up. If you're on LinkedIn, Authored Up is there for you. It helps you with basically your whole process from saving multiple drafts, getting the ideas, saving posts from other people that you're going to use as an inspiration, to editor, so writing a post, optimizing for mobile and for other screens, saving your template signatures, whatever you're reusing in the post all the time, scheduling, posting, and then very in-depth analysis of your content, personalized, where you can see what you can do more, and definitely what doesn't work for you. Authored Up is probably the only tool where you can basically mirror all your posts that you ever published in a tool immediately. So it doesn't start with blank space. It starts with you collecting your posts and getting, you can get 50, 100 of your previous posts, and you have analysis immediately. You have an option to reuse posts, to find it on LinkedIn, and then to start making your existing process much, much, much more efficient than it is right now.
There is one thing that I wanted to ask you for very selfish personal reasons. Can it help me write hooks? Because I hate writing hooks and I just suck at them.
Yeah, and it will be because yes, it can, and it will become even better. Why? Because we are right now working on our own AI models that are
Okay.
going to help you to write not only better hooks, but in your tone and voice, to
This
improve
is
the
amazing.
quality of your content. So no, like click here, we'll generate post for you. Not that type of a feature. Authored Up is not a GPT wrapper. It's more like, I want this to be said in much better, or to be clear, to be easy to understand, and to make it interesting for my audience. So that is what we are right now building. I hope that that feature with dashboard, with inspiration wall and other stuff will be released until 15th of August, when we are celebrating our first birthday.
Oh,
So
wow.
we want all of that.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We want to pack all of that for the big release. But yes, it will be there with a lot of other personalized stuff for you.
I love your mentality, and I could talk for another hour, but hey, what would be best place to continue this conversation with you? What should the listeners do next, Ivana?
Yeah, so um, obviously my native platform is LinkedIn. So you can go and find me on LinkedIn. Send me a DM. I like to talk about LinkedIn. And not only about, like as you see, like every nerdy stuff that you can imagine. LinkedIn, Outer Up website, for sure. And Outer Up page, by the way, we are for the Outer Up page also making polls. And it's very interesting because we can see how people use LinkedIn. And then like other media, I'm not really using. Obviously, I have email, but just one core place where you can
Yeah, you
find
have to
me
deserve your email.
every. Yeah, 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 yeah. But you can just find me easily there.
No, that's fantastic. And thank you so much for leading this conversation with science and insights and just like empathy towards the audience. Because I genuinely feel like the majority of people that I work with are engineers and product managers. And if we give them this generic advice, meaning post picture of yourself 3 times a week, they won't do anything.
Yeah.
So it's much better than this stuff is coming from you. And I'm just grateful for all the insights that you're sharing. Keep on rocking. And soon, congratulations for the first birthday. That's exciting.
Yes. Thank you so much, Maya. Thank you for having me, and I'm really looking forward to see you in the feed.
Me too. Aida, take care. Thanks for listening. Ciao.
Ciao.